I don't think that it's unreasonable to assume at all that this current generation has perhaps more motivation than any other previous generation. And I mean this in more of a this worldly sense. Or perhaps not even that, in a will to power, to use some Nietzsche terminology, even though I haven't even studied Nietzsche, right? I'm a bit of a LARPer in that sense. What I'm trying to argue here is that faced with the rise of social media and the subsequent rise of figures like Andrew Tate, like many in the manosphere, like many in any really sphere on TikTok, who show off a very, I suppose, luxurious, perhaps impressive, and maybe even to an extent a meaningful and a glorious life, in such a way that when you're young and you're seeing Andrew Tate go, "What color is your Bugatti?" Right? And you think, "Wow, I want a Bugatti when I grow up," right? Or maybe you see some other creator on TikTok, with the or on Instagram with their aesthetic images of sipping their cappuccino while they're reading in a cafe, right, in a full suit. For some reason, it's 9 in the morning. Who's willing to do that? But when you're witnessing this day to day, for months, years, perhaps even decades, I think that the natural reaction is to desire this and is to become motivated to seek after this in a way. However, I think that this same social media that is the cause for this increase in motivation can also be considered the cause for a decrease in actual action. So you have this massive surplus of motivation. You want to use it, you want to do something, and the use of motivation is to make you go out there and get some dopamine, or dopamine is used to make you motivated. Now, 10,000 years ago, when you get massive amounts of dopamine when you find some berries, right? Then that's great and dandy. However, now it isn't 3,000 years ago. The motivation and the dopamine that we receive now is significantly, I don't think I can over exaggerate this, wildly easier to get. You don't have to go out and hunt. You don't have to go out and get berries. You don't have to provide for your family and for your tribe. And you don't have to spend weeks or days doing this, or even at the bare minimum hours doing this to actually receive it. Now all you have to do is open social media, live your life through someone else's. Maybe watch some erotic content, have a massive dopamine spike there, right? And now you have this super easy source, but your body still wants the same amount of dopamine. In spite of both these factors, that being that you can access it so easily, you're still gonna want it more and more. And eventually you're gonna get used to it like a poison or a drug, and eventually you're gonna require more. You're gonna, scroll 1 hour, and perhaps a couple of years later, you'll be scrolling 6 hours, right? Of course, that's an exaggeration, but it's definitely not outside the realm of possibility. Now, in other words, what we're doing, and this includes myself, is we're being busy consuming. I think this is the starter problem here, in which we can find and locate a solution to it to an extent. So we're constantly consuming content, we're consuming other people's lives, we're consuming things that'll give us dopamine, but we're not creating anything that'll give us long-term dopamine. And this long-term dopamine and ultimately the creation is the end goal. So how do we do this? Well, for starters, you can get off social media for hours a day. You know, maybe mom's right. Maybe it is that damn phone that's the problem, right? Maybe instead of watching 2 hours worth of TikToks, or maybe adding on to watching 2 hours of TikToks, you can also make one. You know, screw it. What the hell? Who cares, really? Maybe your classmates will care. Maybe your high school will find out. Maybe your co-workers will find out. But who cares, really? So long as your internet footprint isn't that horrible, right? I think that ultimately the benefit that you receive when you actually create something is going to ultimately be better. Take me for an example. I'm averaging 1-2 views a video, but I'm still receiving dopamine every time I do it. In part because there are still that 1 or 2 people, and even maybe 1 or 2 people that'll like the video. Now in spite of that factor, there's also the factor of I've managed to do something that required me to get off my butt, to get off my bed, really, because that's where I scroll through social media, and to actually create something, no matter how truly easy it is, because this iota of discipline that it requires is still infinitely greater than that which is required to open my phone and to scroll through social media, right? Now, ultimately, the end goal, perhaps it's not to completely destroy consumption of social media, perhaps completely destroy the consumption of useless social media that serves no purpose to you. And though either way, you should definitely be aiming to not be working a full-time job on social media, right? So how do we do this? That is a very, very good question. Well, for starters, you can try out deleting it. You want to focus specifically on weaning off short-form content. Everywhere has a short-form content, but you want to limit it as much as possible, really. So delete TikTok, delete Instagram. Now you're gonna want to reinstall it. So maybe uninstall it every night, reinstall it at 5 o'clock. You got 5 to 8 to scroll through Instagram every day, to scroll through TikTok, and to also, of course, upload your video on there. You can delete it. You can add limits, though. I think we all know how well those work out. Especially, we can just say, oh, well, I don't feel like doing it today. And you click the ignore limit button. Ooh. It's definitely not like they're hoping for you to do that. It's not like they've made it so easy so that they can take more of your attention. It's not like that's their entire business model either, is it? But delete it. And as most things, you want to wean it off slowly, surely, and progressively until perhaps one day you can even stop full throttle, cold turkey. Maybe at that point, you can simply create videos and read books. Yeah, that's a pretty decent idea, though I will add that there is a lot of potential to be found in social media. And for every 100 or 1,000 people with bad intentions, with money making intentions, with perhaps simply just entertainment intentions, there's still gonna be at least one person with good intentions that wants to educate you, that wants to put a sense of curiosity into your heart, that wants to teach you and to impart just a little bit of their wisdom onto you. God bless, my friends.